Hello once again, and thank you for joining me on the Waters and Stanton video channel. Quite a few years ago now, Icom announced the IC-705. It was a small, compact, portable transceiver that was going to cover 160 metres to 70 sems, a colour screen, a D-Star, all sorts of other facilities, and there was a lot of excitement about it. And I can remember getting phone calls, when's it going to be available, etc, etc. And then there was a little bit of, well, perhaps less excitement about how much was it going to cost, and there was all sorts of suggestions about how much it was going to cost, and that then transforms itself into, well, it's going to be too expensive, I'm not going to buy one. And then of course the fact that it didn't have an antenna tuner unit, or to be precise, an antenna matching unit inside, that was really going to kill it. It wasn't going to sell. So it was too expensive. Who really needed it? No built-in antenna matching unit. So, well, you know, it's not really going to sell. Well, in fact, it did sell, and it did sell very well, and it's still selling very well now, even though I admit it's not cheap. And yes, certainly there's no antenna matching unit in it. So why is it so successful with all these two major downsides? Well, let's look at the cost first of all. I admit it's beyond a lot of people's pockets, but it's not beyond other people's pockets. I mean, I've always been very keen on photography, and I've been amazed at the amount of money people spend on cameras. And I think at one point somebody said, well, these expensive cameras are really male jewellery. Well, I'm not sure you can say the same about ham radio. But the IC-705 has got a lot going for it. It's a wide frequency range. It's all modes. It's got a very high performance. It's got a lovely large colour screen. It's a joy to operate. And you can class it as a portable transceiver that you could take to the top of a mountain or top of a hill, or just out for the day in the field. You could run it off of its attached battery. You get 5 watts and it lasts quite a long time. And if you put an external battery into it, you get 10 watts. And you know, 10 watts is not a bad power level. When I was first licensed, 10 watts was pretty good on all bands. I mean, 160 metres had a 10 watt power limit anyway. But the other bands, if you could run 10 watts on 80 and 40 metres, you get lots of contacts. Well, of course, the power levels have increased now, so there's a bit more competition. But the fact is, it does an awful lot. And it has D-Star. It can double as a handheld radio. Gives you 10 watts, you can hold it in your hand. All right, your arm might ache after a little while, but the fact is you can operate it as a handheld radio, particularly on VHF and UHF. You can use it as a mobile transceiver on HF, but particularly on VHF and UHF, where it's got FM built in, so it would act as a 10 watt mobile transceiver, and 10 watts mobile is not too bad, even these days. So, yes, it's not cheap, but it offers an awful lot. But the real killer for that radio, the reason it wasn't going to sell, was the absence of an antenna matching unit. Well, it did sell. So why is it sold so well if it hasn't got an antenna matching unit in it? You say, you can buy an antenna matching unit and that will solve the problem. Well, you can. But then the chimes start to ring again. An antenna matching unit, it should have been built in. £300 or whatever it is for an antenna matching unit. That's ridiculous. It puts the price even higher. Well, let's think about the antenna matching unit for a little while. You know, from time to time, most amateurs, radio amateurs, suffer from a disease. It's called VSWR anxiety. It comes and it goes. Sometimes it becomes a serious condition. Others recover from it quite quickly. But there is a treatment, and the treatment really is understanding what VSWR anxiety is. You know, there's many of those that suffer it in a bad way think that VSWR has got to be around about 1.1 or 1.2 to 1. And if you can't achieve that, then things are wrong. You're not getting the most efficient performance out of your transceiver or your antenna. Well, that's quite a serious condition. But there is a cure. And the cure really is to understand what the reality is. A VSWR of 1.1 or 1.2 is very commendable. But it doesn't do anything for your signal. If it was 1.5 to 1, you wouldn't hear any difference. And even if it crept up 2 to 1, shock, horror, again, it would have no real effect on your signal. You might just about measure difference in power level at the antenna, but it would be so small that the guy at the other end wouldn't notice it. And that's assuming you have a fairly long length of cable. Now, if you're using something like an IC-705 or any other portable transceiver, the chances are that you're not going to use a long length of cable anyway. You're going to operate in conditions where you can have the antenna fairly close to the transceiver. So you might have, 5 meters of coax cable, 10 meters of coax cable at the most. So the loss of the performance through VSWR is so small, it's inconsequential. And that really is the cure for VSWR anxiety, to actually understand what it is and to understand the reality. So, having mentioned that terrible disease, which fortunately is easily curable, let's actually look at the antenna tuning unit, or I should say the antenna matching unit, but we'll call it ATU because that's a term that everybody recognises, and I think you understand the correct terms you're matching it. But ATU, we'll talk about ATU. Why do you need an ATU? Well, in order to match your antenna. But let's start to get real. If you operate portable, what antennas are you really going to use? The chances are that you're going to use a resonant antenna. Now, I've looked back over the years that I've had my IC-705, and I did actually borrow the Icom matching antenna tuner unit to test it out, and it worked well. I could attach a length of wire to it and it resonated, and it was great. I had all bands on this bit of wire. I think on 160 meters the wire had to be about 60 or 70 foot long, but otherwise it would match most lengths of wire on most bands, in fact all bands. But I gave it back because I had it on loan, and to be honest, I haven't actually missed it. Why haven't I missed it? Well, first of all, I no longer suffer with VSWR anxiety. If I have a VSWR creeping up to 2 to 1 and I can't improve it, well, I accept it because I know the transceiver will quite happily deliver full power into a 2 to 1 VSWR. But the fact is that most of my operation employs resonant antennas these days. And you've seen some of my videos where I've used mobile whips. And I've used some of these commercial verticals that you can get now, which have a variable inductance, and they work extremely well. And the idea of a variable inductance is that you actually bring the antenna to resonance, and if you bring it to resonance, you get a low VSWR. So in actual fact, you might say that some of these commercial antennas have built-in antenna tuning units because they present a good match. The mobile whips are great because you can resonate them and pre-tune them, and all you've got to do is to stick them on top of the car or wherever you're going to operate from. And these commercial verticals, equally good. You can make marks or make notes so that you can quickly change bands by adjusting the length or the length of the coil or the position of the inductance or the variable inductance they've got, like these screwdriver antennas. They work extremely well. How often do you actually run out a random length of wire and then make sure you've got a decent earth and then use an antenna matching unit? Well, perhaps some of you do, but I venture to suggest that a majority these days tend to operate resonant antennas, which give a good VSWR. So, do you actually need an antenna tuning unit? And do you need to worry the fact that the transceiver you've got hasn't got one in? I think, if you really think about it, that a majority of operators these days, when they're out portable or out mobile, will be using resonant antennas. It makes a lot of sense. It saves some money because you don't need to buy an antenna tuning unit. Now, base stations have got antenna tuning units built in, and I'm as guilty as anybody. You press the ATU and you see the VSWR on the meter disappear down to 1.1 to 1, which is great. But you have to remind yourself that probably you could do without that antenna tuning units on most bands. Now, if you're offering a base station, you may be using something like a G5RV and the VSWR does rise, and I accept that. But the majority of the time, you could actually switch the antenna tuner unit off. The fact you've got one in there, you press the button, and it's nice to see a sort of zero reflected power. It doesn't change, of course, the VSWR on the coax cable, but visually it looks good and it's comforting. Now, I think if we think about operating outside, portable, perhaps we don't get into that situation so much because we tend to use resonant antennas, and there's a whole range of low power resonant antennas available now. Some are single banded, some are multi-banded. So do we actually need an antenna tuning unit? I think a lot of it is up there. We don't actually need an antenna tuning unit on many occasions. So I think we can say, okay, it hasn't got an antenna tuning unit in it, but do I really need one? How many occasions do I need one? And can I save myself £200 or £300 by getting antennas that are resonant? So I think that's the true situation. Now, at the beginning of the video, I did mention the fact that the IC-705 is not cheap. But the good news is it is cheaper than what it was. If you go onto our website, you'll see that we've reduced the price. I think it's £300. We've now reduced the price of the IC-705 by £300. Check it out, and you'll probably be pleasantly surprised. Now, it would be remiss of me not to mention the FTX-1F. Again, we have the same situation. It's not cheap, and it doesn't have an antenna matching unit in. Well, as regards value for money, I think we'll have to judge that when we actually get the final radios in stock and I can try one. But it is obviously a competitor for the IC-705. But what about the antenna matching units? Well, they provide 2 antenna matching units. But I think what you need to do is to first of all think, do I need one? Is my method of operation going to require a matching unit, or can I save myself some money? If you want to operate with a random length of wire and you want to operate on all bands, then maybe you need it. But maybe you don't. Think about it.
If you do want a portable with an internal ATU, check this one out.
So there we are. That's something to think about. Food for thought. Do you need an antenna matching unit? Are you going to miss it? Etc, etc. But above all, you must try and get over this VSWR anxiety. It's easily curable. Perhaps by listening to this video, I may have helped you to overcome your problem. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for your support on this channel. Don't forget to press the subscribe button. In the meantime, you take care and look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.